Hello my Foonatics, it's Fufu here, and we have made it to the final week of Season 3 of the PPL, and this is a pretty important match for a number of reasons. It's important because it determines where I do finish in this league. Unfortunately, due to the excruciating loss last week to the crit, I'm not really in the running for first place. There's Shardy and Trav who are battling this week, and the winner of that will probably come first. So that's how that's going to be determined. And I am battling this week to see if I can come second, so beat the loser of that first place match. But it's more important than that for me because, number one, I've lost my previous 2 matches that I've played, which I'm not happy with at all, and I definitely want to go out on a positive note. And number 2, I want to be able to say that I did everything I could to come first in this league. If I lose this match, the crit last week doesn't even matter because I wouldn't have come first. However, if I win this match, it's really that crit in the crucial match against the person who was the league leader then that could have cost me the entire league. So I want to be able to say I did everything in my power. I can hold my head high, and it just is part of the game that the luck wasn't there for me in the really crucial match. So that's why I want to win. I was going in really wanting this one. I'm going against Jack, aka the donphanatic. He's a good friend of mine. I've known him for a very long time in the community now. Obviously, all of his links will be in the description, so please check it out. He's had a really good season this season. His draft was on point. Really cool things there. I really liked it. And he's played it very well. So I've got an uphill battle against me. He's 4th in the league. So the 3 people that are battling for 1st, 2nd and 3rd, he's actually 4th. So he's still a very good contender, and I will have to fight for this one. It's not going to be an easy one to win. So as always, I'm going to do the team builder bit of the video first. If you're not particularly interested in that, you can skip straight to the battle with the time link in the description. But if you are awesome, which I know you all are because it's in my outro, please stick around to see what my thoughts were about his draft and what I brought for it. So let's have a look. As I say, I really like Jack's draft. He's using Mega Latios, which has just been allowed into the PPL for a very high cost, but it's a really cool Pokemon, so that's really cool. And very scary as well, just because it's bulky and offensive and fast. It has setup options on both sides of the attacking spectrum, so it's really scary. And other threats as well. He's got the Dragon Fairy Steel core. I'm not scared of fairies, which means that core isn't particularly effective against me, which is a very nice thing. He's got some really bulky walls in like Skarmory and Gastro. Florges, but as I say, I can deal with Florges. And then some powerhouses in Darmanitan, which is hugely scary. I was actually really scared of Zoroark as well, because it's a nice speed tier to fight against my team, and it can take on some of the biggest threats to his team on my team. So it's a cool Pokemon, and I thought that we might be seeing that. And other things to consider are obviously setup Latios is very scary, and yeah, just Darmanitan and Nidoking, of course. Nidoking is so hard to switch into, and I know that I will struggle with that. So, looking at the things that I want to bring, I knew that Jirachi is going to be great this match. It's got the moveset that really punishes pretty much everything on his team. There aren't really switch-ins for this on Jack's team. I decided not to run a steel type move because I do have 2 other things on my team that can switch into Florges and deal with it. I really wanted this moveset for the reasons I'll explain. So it's a special attacker because the coverage is just really good on that side of things. The speed is all I need to be able to outspeed Darmanitan. He doesn't have base 100s, I don't believe, so I don't need to fully invest to outspeed what I need to outspeed. Psychic is there because I need something to immediately threaten the Nidoking, so that was really important. If I didn't have something that could easily come in and revenge Nidoking, I was going to have huge problems. So that's why Psychic is there. It will OHKO unless it has like the Psychic Berry, which the name has slipped my mind right now. So that's why I wanted Psychic over Flash Cannon. Energy Ball is there for Gastro, which won't necessarily OHKO, it's especially defensive, which is kind of what I'd expect because it's a good switch in on Blastoise. But if it switches in on, say, a Psychic, that could well put it in range for an Energy Ball, so I went with that. Thunderbolt is there to catch the Skarmory because it might think that it's a safe switch in, or it might think that I'm physical, for example, so I can try and catch that with a Thunderbolt. And Moonblast is there because I wanted something to... I was running Shadow Ball to try and hit Latios, but Moonblast is more powerful. It can get the special attack drop with 60%, which is really cool. It's got 30% and then Serene Grace boosts it, so that's really great. And also, it hits flipping Zorok, which I was very scared of. It OHKOs it, and I've got a Colbur Berry on it just because I was really scared of being pursuit tracked by Zorok, because I knew this thing would be really useful. Colbur Berry also doubles up as protection against Nidoking's Sucker Punch, so that Psychic I can prevent it relatively confidently with the Psychic because I won't be taken out with a Sucker Punch. So that's the Jirachi set, and I really liked it for this match. I thought it was pretty much perfect, and yeah, it was really good. But there are definitely things that can stop it, like Latios is faster and it can run super effective coverage, and Darmanitan could come scarfed, Nidoking could come scarfed, so I need to watch out for that. The next Pokemon that I'm bringing is actually Nidoqueen. I wanted Rocks just to pressure Skarmory for defogs, really, because if he defogs away my hazards, that'll be really useful. He might want to hazard stack me, but if I can put the Rocks pressure on, that would be really good. It would help with Darmanitan a lot as well, which is something that I really want. It'll take Flare Blitz recoil if it does go for it, and then also Stealth Rock damage. So that's really why I wanted to bring this. I went special because I felt like I would be able to hit certain things harder, and this moveset is basically, it means that I do actually have something for floor just to hit it hard. I've got Flamethrower there to hit the Skarmory, and Earth Power, because Earth Power is pretty good against this team. Obviously it hits Darmanitan, whether I can take a hit or not I'm not really sure, it depends on the set. But also it's there for Nidoking. I've got the Sugar Berry for Nidoking. I can easily live any ground attack that it wants to go for and take it out with an Earth Power. Using the Sugar Berry again because it worked so well last time when I just died to a crit Excadrill Earthquake, but I was hoping that this time it would be a bit more useful. So that's why I've got the Nidoqueen there. The next Pokemon, Blastoise, it actually does a really important job this match, which is switching in on Darmanitan. I didn't really have other great answers to it, so I wanted Blastoise to be able to do that. Scald is there to kill the Darmanitan. I've got Dark Pulse just because it can hit the Latios. It's not going to be able to set up on me. It is pretty good coverage against his whole team, really, and is something that's able to hit a Gastrodon on a switch in for a predicted Scald or something like that. Toxic is there also for the Gastrodon because it probably will be switching in, and I want to be able to whittle that and kill it quite early. And Rapid Spin because that is my hazard control, apart from the opposing Skarmory's defog, which might be a thing or not, I don't really know. But that's why I'm running defensive Blastoise. It still hits really hard. Dark Pulse still does a lot of damage to Latios, so that's why that's there. The next Pokemon is kind of what I identified as a win condition, which is my Talonflame. I went offensive because I wanted offensive checks for things like Latios and Darmanitan and, again, Nidoking. So I wanted a lot of attack investment. I went with Swords Dance set because if I can get rid of Skarmory, Swords Dance set is really good. I also want to whittle the bulky things so I'm not taking too much recoil. So things like Gastrodon, I really want to whittle that a lot. But Swords Dance is really good, and it just takes out a lot of Jack's offense. Unboosted for some, and when I get the boost up, it will take out pretty much any offensive mon and a lot of the defensive ones after they've been whittled a bit. So it's really important. I've got Will-O-Wisp in there, which is really important. I had considered running more speed to outspeed Zorok because it could well have Sucker Punch, but then I thought, if it's coming, it's likely not going to have Sucker Punch because it outspeeds most of my team anyway. The only reason it would do that is to try and hit Talonflame, but then it's losing out on coverage. So I didn't necessarily think it would come. And also, if it does come and it does have Sucker Punch, it will still have to play Mind Games with the Will-O-Wisp. And if I can get the Will-O-Wisp and the Roost off, then it's not... And yeah, it'll have to play Mind Games with Will-O-Wisp and Roost. So I thought that even if he does switch in a Zorok on a Talonflame, then he's probably going to try and Sucker Punch me. I will hopefully be able to play around that. So that's pretty cool. And that's why I brought it. I wanted the HP because I wanted to be able to take a bit more recoil. That is why. So that's kind of my win con and a very important one this match, so I will need to preserve it. Togekiss is coming this time as really a safer way to deal with Latios. If it's a setup Latios, if it's a sub-setup Latios, this thing can still deal with it relatively well. I'm hoping to be able to spread paralysis on certain things. It's specially defensive, so if a special setup Zoroark comes, I should hopefully be able to take like a +2 Sludge Bomb and maybe Thunder Wave, or just kill it with Dazzling Gleam. That's the idea. Flamethrower is there for Skarmory, and that's basically the set. It also kind of hits Nidoking, although I would have liked to have had Psychic, but I felt like hitting Skarmory was more important because that would be the most likely switch in on a Togekiss. And anyway, the final Pokemon that gels everything together is the unnicknamed Hariyama, which is a travesty. This should really be Fat Sock. That's his name. Let's put that in now. And this thing is just a really basic AV Hariyama. There to switch in on Gastrodon, which I was almost sure was coming because I thought Floor just wasn't, and therefore a switch in on Blastoise would be Gastrodon. So I wanted this to be able to come in on it very easily and get powerful hits off, maybe get the Scald Burn and then hit very hard, 2-hit KO Skarmory hard. That's what I was aiming to do. So the moveset there, close combat just to hit pretty much everything very hard. There's not very much that wants to switch in on that. Skarmory will be able to take them, obviously, but if I get burned, then it can't really take them very well at all. Knockoff is there to get rid of items like lefties on the walls, and it also punishes the Lati switch in a bit more than a close combat would. Ice Punch again hits Lati a bit harder. That's really the only reason, I think. And also, I suppose, Nidoking it hits as well. And then Heavy Slam was there in case Floor just did come, just so they have another way to deal with it. And this would completely destroy it. And I went with more special defense investment rather than defense because I felt like I would only really be taking special hits. So that was the idea behind the team. I hope you understand. There are still some huge threats like Nidoking I'm going to struggle with. If it's just a special set, then Sork can probably deal with it. Heliolisk as well, Sork can deal with that because it's Assault Vested. That's why I went with Sork, really. I was kind of considering some other things, like Jolteon was pretty okay, and it was a good way to outspeed Latios and maybe hit it with a Shadow Ball or a Signal Beam or something like that. But I just didn't really have enough coverage because he's got 2 ground types. It didn't really make as much sense. So yeah, that's the team. I've got a good mix of bulk and offense, I feel, and we will see how that plays out in the match, which we will watch now. Okay, so here we are against Jack. We are unfortunately on Showdown because of the Jirachi that I wanted to use, it having Moonblast. I just was having difficulty getting it to be legal online because it can get Moonblast but from a Gen 6 event, and I wasn't really sure how to go about getting that, and I've managed it now, but it's after the fact, so that's a bit of a shame. So it is going to be on Showdown for the last battle, but looking at the team he's brought, I was really surprised not to see Zoroark. I really did think that was coming because that's why I had the Colbur Berry on Jirachi. It still could be useful if he's got Sucker Punch on Nidoking, but that remains to be seen. Everything else was kind of what I was expecting. Yeah, I sort of thought all those things were possibilities, so I have kind of prepped for them all, but there are still very scary things. Like I said, Nidoking, if it's physical, that's a lot scarier because it puts more pressure on my Blastoise as a physical wall, and without any recovery, obviously that's not going to be great because it has to deal with Darmanitan and Nidoking, and Darmanitan hits like a freaking truck. So in terms of leads, I was definitely thinking Blastoise is a good one. There's not very much that it dislikes to go up against apart from a Heliolisk. I do have things that could come in against that, so I felt like Blastoise wasn't a bad option. Let's go normal here, and let's see how that turns out. So I sent out my Blastoise, and luckily for me, he does actually lead with Darmanitan. That was really the main reason. If I led with anything else, I'd have had a problem dealing with this. So that 21% is actually, no, that 19% is quite a lot of damage. I'm not really sure if it's banded or whether it's just adamant. But I do predict him to switch out, and I go for a Toxic. He goes into Gastro, which is what I thought would happen. Get a Toxic on that, which is fantastic. I am just going to go for a knockoff here. It will do damage to Latios if it wants to come in. If he goes into Skarmory, getting rid of an item on that will be really, really useful. It's actually an Ockerberry. That's actually not that useful because I don't have too many fire moves to hit it. Only Flamethrower on Nidoqueen, I suppose. So it might come into play. I'm going to go straight into Blastoise because I don't want hazard stacking on my team. I am just going to spin straight away as Vimto, the Heliolisk, comes in, and I am going to go into my specially bulky Hariyama, which can eat that hit up. It does mean that Jack gets a free switch and a free Mega off with his Latios, which is less than ideal, but Togekiss can take it on really, really well. It is especially defensive, and fortunately I see that he's actually got Psychic there. Psyshock would have done a bit more damage, so Psychic, yeah, that's not going to be doing too much. I'm going to go for a Flamethrower predicting a switch, but unfortunately it's into Nidoking. I was hoping for a 20% burn, but it didn't happen. Serene Grace hasn't really played a factor in any of my matches so far, which is a real shame. Now, the Earthquake was really obvious. The switch out on my part was really obvious. I didn't do anything about it, though. I went into Nidoqueen because it is kind of the most sackable thing on my team. Jirachi can break through most things that Nidoqueen can hit anyway. I'll just have to deal with this Nidoking more offensively now, which is a real shame. I do just sack my Nidoqueen because I wasn't risking going into one of my immunities to Earthquake because it wouldn't really have given me... I couldn't risk my Talonflame. I couldn't risk it. It's far too important. I get a burn on Skarmory, which is going to help even more. I'm going to spin these rocks away, and hopefully the Skarmory will go down soon because, as I say, that's the main thing I need to get rid of for Talonflame to be able to put in work. If I could weaken Gastrodon and get rid of Skarmory, then Talonflame stands a chance at winning if I can get a setup opportunity. But that still seems like a lot of work. I've lost Nidoqueen. And you see here, I'm just gauging the damage on Gastro. It's definitely especially defensive Gastro. If I can get the flinch this next turn, then Gastro just dies. So I thought that that was probably worth going for just for the extra 12% damage on my Blastoise. And because of the Dark Pulse damage and the Toxic, he's going to want to recover again with his Gastro most likely. So I do get a free switch into the Hariyama, which Jack will struggle a little bit to switch into. It will be a Skarmory switch in, but now he's burned and taking close combat damage, he's going to be taking about 50%. So that's really, really nice for me. It's going to force him to want to roost this turn. I don't really want to lose my Hariyama right now because I like having a good switch in on Gastrodon. So I'm going to go into my Blastoise in case he does want to set up rocks or something like that. You can see my Blastoise is getting really whittled though, and this could well be a problem for Darmanitan later on. I still don't know what set it is, but Darmanitan could be a huge, huge threat. So I need to watch out, but I've kind of already gone past the point of Blastoise being able to deal with Darmanitan because Flare Blitz does so much damage. So anyway, Jack's giving me another free switch into Hariyama, but I really need to make some more moves and pressure him a bit more. As we see, he goes into Easy Jet. I'm going to switch into my Jirachi right now, as he's wanting to get a roost off. I can threaten this thing out, as I'm going to go for a Moonblast and do some decent damage to the Skarmory. And what's great right now is that Jack actually stays in and lets me kill it with the Thunderbolt instead of maybe scouting with Gastrodon, although Gastrodon is still really important for him. Now the Darmanitan comes in, I can't OHKO that with anything, and I wasn't really going to stay in anyway. He does go for a Flare Blitz and gets a crit. Doesn't really matter, I was sacking Blastoise at that point anyway. Means that I can go into Talonflame and go for a Brave Bird. Nothing wants to take this now that Skarmory's gone, and I get the kill on the Nidoking, which is really good. I mean, at this point, it wasn't the most useful thing on his team. It was a good way of him killing Togekiss, but other than that, not super helpful, and he's got ways of dealing with my other mons anyway. But I'm really happy that it's gone. He gets a free switch into Vimto. I can go to Hariyama. He does get the crit, which potentially is important, but we'll see later on. He goes for a Psychic here as I switch in Togekiss, and he gets a special defense drop, so I am definitely not going to be able to take another one. Really, really unfortunate. I'm going to switch into Jirachi here, as he's just going to go for a Psychic again, and Jirachi can eat that up. I'm going to go for another Moonblast, as Gastro comes in, and oh no, I go for a Psychic predicting a switch, maybe into Darmanitan predicting the Moonblast. But that Psychic is great because it actually puts him in range of an Energy Ball, even though he's especially defensive Gastro, so that's really good. Getting rid of Gastro is good, but Blastoise is gone now. It just means that Talonflame won't be taking as much recoil damage if it does go for the sweep later on. He goes into Darmanitan, which is really scary. I still want to keep my Jirachi around because it's really my best way at this stage of dealing with Latios, seeing as though my Togekiss has been weakened. And that special defense drop was actually kind of annoying because I would have had a healthy Togekiss otherwise. So he goes into his Latios now on the Volt Switch kill, and that's actually good for me because I get to go into Jirachi and just go for some Moonblasts here. Jack goes for a Roost on this turn, maybe predicting me to switch up my moves. yeah, it's predicting him to switch out, but that's not what I do. I am fortunate in that I get 2 Moonblast special attack drops, and this is where it's going to happen. So that Psychic obviously is not going to be doing anything because of the drops. I do manage to get my Sword Stance off with my Talonflame, and that's actually just going to give me the win right there, because nothing can take this hit, even though it's resisted with Heliolisk. Heliolisk is so weak that it won't be taking the Brave Bird. Darmanitan has taken a little bit of damage, but there was no way it was taking that Brave Bird. I suppose a recoil he was going for there. His best play was to maybe try and hope to survive with Heliolisk, but that 7% damage means that I'm easily in KO range with my +2 Brave Bird. So at the end there, it all happened pretty quickly. I saw my chance to get the Talonflame sweep, and that was because of the Serene Grace Moonblast special attack drops. You could kind of say that I got a bit lucky. I don't think that it was actually super lucky, because it's a 60% chance, and I only actually needed 1 drop. I didn't need 2 to be able to survive the recoil and kill Latios and Darmanitan and Heliolisk. So I think that I got that anyway. I survived there only with 10%, even though I got the 2 drops, but it would have been... So the only way that he could have won would be is if he sacked his Darmanitan and then sacked his Heliolisk rather than letting Latios go down, because then my Talonflame, I'm pretty sure, would have gone down to that recoil, and then he would have had Latios against my Hariyama, and my Hariyama was at a stage where it wouldn't be able to take a Psychic, definitely not. So I think Jack could have maybe played that endgame a little bit differently. But then again, he is predicting around roosts. Like, if I had wanted to roost on the Latios there, or predicted a switch and gone for a roost, then the recoil wouldn't have killed. So I got myself into a position where the Talonflame sweep was just going to happen. So that was really, really good. I felt like in that match, I wasn't really making the plays. There were some plays that I could have definitely predicted, but I was trying to play safe, and in the end it kind of worked out. I was in a position where Jack probably had the control to be able to win, but he just, I don't know, the predictions were hard in that situation when Talonflame could roost at any moment and put it outside of the recall range. So Talonflame just being the man he is, or woman in this case, and winning me another game. It's done this for a number of games right now, and it's definitely one of my favourite things on this team. And it has bought me 2nd place in the league and the rights to say that I did everything that I could to try for that 1st place, and it was just that one crucial match in which I got unlucky. So good game, Jack. You brought such scary threats, and you made the plays. I'd say made the plays more than I did. I really, really enjoyed that match. I really, really enjoyed the season. I'm happy with 2nd place. I'm happy with my team. I'm really happy with 2nd place with the things that I drafted, because they're things that I haven't really seen other people put together and use particularly well. So I felt like I was experimenting a bit, and the experiment was a success, in my opinion. I really enjoyed it. I'm going to do like a PPL season recap and that kind of thing, just to look over the performances and how I think I did. And yeah, I hope you guys are good. I'm really happy about my performances this season, and now we are looking forward to the GBA. Definitely looking forward to it, because that's the draft stream is happening this Saturday, May the 7th, I believe, and that's at 1 p.m. EST or 6 p.m. GMT. So check that out, because I will be revealing my draft, which you definitely need to see. All that's left to be said is I've been Fufu, you've been awesome, and hopefully see you next time. Goodbye.